What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video. And in today's video, or tonight's video, yeah, for those of you who didn't notice, over on my community tab this morning, I did make a post for all of you letting you know that unfortunately when I woke up this morning at the time I normally record videos, we did not have any power due to a major storm overnight, so unfortunately I was not able to go ahead and record this morning for all of you, because by the time the power came back on, well, it was about time for me to leave for my real job, and yeah, unfortunately, I had to kind of do that. So yeah, you're getting it now, but better late than never, right? So in today's video, we have a massive update notice breakdown that we need to get through. There is a ton of information that we need to talk about because the EX Volume 2 update is coming our way on 5/29, and there is a ton of information in here that we need to go through. But before we go ahead and get into all of that and more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so, you smash that like button and subscribe. And without further ado, you guys, buckle up, buckaroos, because this is the 5/29 update notice breakdown. Grab yourself some popcorn and strap in, because we're going to be here for a while. Cue that intro. Alright, you guys, now as always I will have links in the description so that way you guys can check all this stuff out for yourselves. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into a massive, and I do mean massive, update that we are going to be getting on 5/29. And now for those of you out there who have not already noticed this, the 5/29 update is going to take place this Sunday, okay? And for me, in the Central Time Zone, it is going to be at 8 p.m. So what does this mean? This basically means that you guys are going to need to make sure that you get your dailies done early. If you do not, then I hate to tell you, but payday's the next day. You're going to miss out on some stuff. So make sure that you guys get all of your dailies done. Make sure you adjust for your time zone accordingly, and that you know exactly what is going on when it comes to this update as far as the time of this maintenance. Because again, it is on a weird day, so just make sure that you guys are aware. So, with all that out of the way, let's first take a look at the update notice. I'm going to do my best to go through all of this stuff as best I can, because again, there is a ton of information in here. So, first things first, we have EX Angel. She is going to be the KOF 15 version of the character. Now, we already pretty much knew this based on the silhouette that they had been teasing for us. If you guys haven't seen those videos, well, links will be in the description. But EX Angel is going to be the next EX character for EX Volume 2, and she is going to be a green balance type. So that is what we are going to see there. There is a trailer for this character to reveal the skills for her. I will be taking a look at that, just not in this video, because this video is already going to be long enough. So that is what we got there. And of course, her banner mate is going to be the rerun for BS Leona. So for all of you BS Leona fans out there, you should be pretty happy, because she is going to be EX and she is getting a buff, which we'll also talk about. So being that those are going to be the two characters on the banner, we do know that there is going to be a new 3PG finisher. This is going to be Ascension time. Now, of course, this is going to be the 3PG finisher for Angel. And then, of course, we are getting a rerun of V-Slasher EX for BS Leona, for those of you who missed out on it the first time. And then we have another option card coming along with this banner. This is going to be Alone on the Road. So those are going to be the three cards there. And then, of course, we have a new set. This is going to be Angel Stunt. And this is reusing some of the old art for the old Angels that we've had. And yes, I'm going to say Angel or Angel, depending on when I bring her up at this point, because what can you do? But Angel Stunt is going to be the new 3-card set, and we do not know any information on the set whatsoever as far as what it does yet, so keep that in mind. We'll have to wait until the update is live to know. But as far as the art's concerned, I kind of like it. Honestly, I like the Type 1 card, because honestly, I'm a big wrestling guy. It's kind of cool to see her there with the championship belt. So in general, yes, they're reusing assets, but still pretty good art nonetheless. So moving on here, you guys are going to, of course, have 3 different effects that you can get on Angel's new 3PG finisher. That's either going to increase your attack, your active skill damage, or your critical damage. Pretty much standard fare as always. Now, this part's really cool. As you guys can see, there is going to be a Rush Dungeon set, and this Rush Dungeon set is going to be adorable. I love this card art. This is some of the coolest card art, in my opinion, they've ever done. I love this. I'm a sucker for this. I think it's awesome. Now, some people might disagree, but hey, you have a right to your opinion just like I do, but I personally love this card art. This is going to be the Moderate versus Frustrated, and we're going to hope that this card set is good because, again, it's going to be a free set in the Rush Dungeon. So, moving on now, we have a memory exchange for Boss Syndrome fighters. Now, of course, it does seem as though because the last time when we had the last EX banner that featured the rerun for SS Iori, we did have the memory exchange for the Dimension exchange for SS fighters. Now we are getting a Boss Syndrome memory exchange with BS Leona for this banner, so it would seem as though they are going to be alternating these based on who is getting rerun. So that is what we got there. Basically, for those of you who haven't seen one of these before, essentially it's the same thing, just that you can go ahead and exchange any 3 of your Boss Syndrome memories for a generic Boss Syndrome memory, and you can do that up to 2 times. So, next up here, we have the fighter balance adjustments. So previously, we had already pretty much assumed that Boss Syndrome Leona was going to get buffed and to get an EX, which was pretty much obvious from what we had seen in the stuff over the week. But now we are going to be getting KOF XII Leona also getting buffed and getting an EX. This is really, really cool stuff. In general, this is really good news for those of you out there who are free-to-play players who do not have this character and still love Leona. But of course, it all comes down to what the buffs are going to be, so let's talk about them. First up here, we're going to have to take a look at BS Leona and see what her buffs are. Now, there are going to be people that might be a little bit disappointed by her buffs, but to be fair, this is a character that is still very much so a very strong character in her own right, especially in things such as Guild Raid. So in general, we had pretty much thought about this in the past and talked about this in the past as to how they were going to handle some of these stronger characters as far as their buffs were concerned. And it would seem as though they aren't going to go completely all out with some of these characters that are still in a really good spot, which basically means that in the future, SS Terry, BS Nameless, Dark Ash, etc., probably going to get the same treatment, but that's just conjecture. Let's talk about what's actually happening here. So, on the S3 Shin Baltic launcher, again, as always, they have the before and after here, and the red print is going to be what the changes are. So if we take a look here, originally, the increase to attack by 55% has now been increased to 70%. So basically you have an additional 15% of your attack from defense conversion. So pretty good stuff overall. And then if we take a look here on the second line, deals additional damage equal to 50% of attack upon landing a burning target. Now we are going to deal additional damage equal to 80% of attack upon landing a burning target. So this is an increase of 30%, a really nice jump. So in general, you guys are going to notice as a rule with these buffs, they basically just tried to adjust her damage output. So that's what you guys are going to see as a consistent theme with her buffs. So next up here, we have an increase, or at least a decrease, to the cooldowns. So this is going to be on a core. This is going to be Bloody Fate. Originally, it increased the target's damage received by 35% for 5 seconds upon landing Grand Saber EX. On a cooldown of 15 seconds, that cooldown has now been reduced to 12 seconds. So they shaved 3 seconds off of this core, but there is one other change here. Originally, we also increased our active skill damage on a burning target by 110%. That has been increased to 130%. So that's an increase of 20%. And that is going to do it for BS Leona's buffs. Again, not massive changes, but it would seem as though they definitely did address a little bit of her damage there. And let's be honest, this character doesn't need a ton of support when it comes to buffs. She's still in a pretty decent spot. This is going to help her quite a bit, and honestly, giving her the EX change-up kit alone might be enough to really put her in a really good position. Time will tell, but in general, that is what we got for the buffs there. Now, going from a character that is still very much so in the meta to a character that's almost never been in the meta, let's talk about the KOF XII Leona. Now, this character got a significant boost, and this is going to be pretty impressive on her, so let's take a look. So, first off here, we increased attack by 35% of defense for 7 seconds when using a skill originally on Moon Slasher, which is her S1. Now that has been increased from 35% to 80%. Huge jump there, really, really good stuff, but it continues to get better. You will see here that she recovered HP by 2,000 every 1 second for 5 upon landing a skill. Now she recovers that HP by 3,000. So that's a 1000 upgrade. Again, really, really good. And then we have an entirely new line here. This is going to increase target's damage received by 35% for 4 seconds upon landing a skill. So in general, Leona gets a ton of help here, and it continues down here on the S2 on Baltic Launcher. So we had deals venom damage to the target for 5 seconds upon landing a skill. Now that has been increased to 12 seconds. That is a huge boost. That's a 7-second increase to her venom damage. Really, really good stuff, especially considering the fact that this Leona is one of the better poison dealers for the unified banner in general. On a budget, this is a really good option, and this just made her much, much better. But she did get another buff to the same effect. In fact, you'll see that her Venom now deals poison damage equal to 90% of defense every 1 second, as opposed to 35%. So that's a massive, massive jump. And in general, again, guys, really, really good stuff. We'll come back to that though, because on the S3, we are also going to see the exact same buff to the Venom damage on the S3. So again, we go from 5 seconds to 12 seconds for the duration, and we go from 35% to 90% of defense. So in general, really, really good. Both of these got the same buff here. However, the S3 also got another line of text, which is used to increase attack by 60% for 5 seconds. In general, I am really, really curious to see just how good this Leona ends up being, because she could end up being, especially considering she's going to be able to be EX'd, ending up being one of the best overall unified banner characters that there is right now. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out, but so far so good. Now, we do have some more changes here. So let's continue on military training, which is a core. Originally, we had gains hyper armor for 3 seconds upon attacking a poisoned enemy on a cooldown of 15 seconds. Now that cooldown has been reduced by 5 seconds down to 10 seconds. So she's basically going to be able to get her hyper armor just that much faster. Really, really good stuff. Now, next up here, we have another core change. This time it is going to be to the unknown rank core, and this is going to be quite a bit here, so we're going to take a look. So originally, when attacked, she dealt poison damage equal to 20% of attack for 5 seconds to the target, and a 20% chance to deal 2 times of the remaining poison damage and remove poison. So basically, she had a 2 times explosion on there. Now, when attacked, she deals poison damage equal to 40%, so it jumps up to double. It goes from 20 to 40% of attack for 5 seconds, and has a 20% chance to deal 3 times of the remaining poison damage and remove poison on a cooldown of 5 seconds. So not only is it going from 2 times to 3 times, but also it is going from 9 seconds to 5 seconds. However, there's a big old block of text here in red, so that means she got even more love here. She's also going to deal poison damage equal to 5.5 times of the remaining poison and remove poison upon landing an active skill on a poison target on a cooldown of 1 second. And when her HP is 50% or more, she increases her defense by 60%. Guys, this character, like I said, is going to end up being potentially, easily, in my opinion, the best overall poison dealer on Unified, but with the change-up kit, may end up being one of the best Unified banner characters we got right now. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm really happy with what she got. She looks really powerful right now. So that's pretty much going to do it for the buffs, so we can kind of go ahead and move on now. So we are, of course, going to see new EX Imprint stones, but we're also going to be getting the Operation Kitty Moon and Star Imprint stones. So basically, kind of like what we had with the 3 Sacred Treasure stones, we're now going to have for a new tag, which is this Operation Kitty tag. So basically, this is going to be something that is going to offer up a Moon and a Star stone. Now, we will talk about how to obtain those, because there is going to be some stuff to talk about there, but largely that's what you need to know. And then when it comes to the normal circle, square, and hexagon stones, those are going to be through just going ahead and unlocking the awakening for Angel. So that's pretty much the same through the codex and whatever the case may be. So really no change there, but the Operation Kitty Moon and Star stones will come up again. We'll talk about it when we get there. So Change-up kits. They are adding change-up kits for BS Leona, so that is going to happen for her, as well as the KOF XII Leona. So in general, really, really good stuff. We've talked about this and established this already, but as you guys can see here, they are going to confirm that in the photo, along with EX Angel. So there you guys go. We get 2 more characters that can get a change-up kit, including another unified banner character, and they have changed the way that you can get those for them, which is going to come up here momentarily. Now, another thing to mention here is we are getting a new season of Chapter of Fight. So Chapter of Fight will be coming back, so we can go ahead and get that 100 rubies and those rare enhancement hammers every single day. Always love to see it. And then we get into some of the events, right? So, of course, we have a new tower. This is going to be the Babyface Challenge Dungeon, and we do not really know at this point what all is going to entail as far as what the prizes are going to be. That's always the biggest question. However, we can pretty much assume that the Operation Kitty Stones are probably going to be involved here, kind of like what we just saw with that previous tower. But there is one major note to be made about this. You're actually going to be able to bring in KOF XII Leona as well. So this is actually a really nice modification to the tower. Basically, not only can you take in BS Leona as well as EX Angel, who are going to be on the banner like normal, but also you are going to have the chance to just go ahead and use KOF XII Leona, which is really, really cool for all of you out there who have not planned on investing on this new banner and did not previously invest on BS Leona. We'll have to wait and see if you're going to be able to get through it with the new buffs to KOF XII Leona, but I would say probably a fairly good chance as long as you overinvest in her. So that's pretty much that. We also have more confirmation of the new Rush Dungeon. We'll talk more about that when we get there. We have a new login bonus. This login bonus, pretty much exactly what we've come to expect, not much to talk about. But we are also going to be getting Ramon's opening show Relay Roulette. Now, this Relay Roulette, you guys are going to notice that you are going to have these little guys right here. This is going to come up and feed into another event that we're going to have going on. But basically, we are going to have a new roulette. Really, really nice to have these because you'll notice there's some AP in there, so you can't ever have too much AP, right? So very nice. We also have the event codex. We have the Angels Wrestling Match gift event. Now, basically, this is where I said we're going to talk about this item here more, but we'll talk more about it when we get to the actual in-game event notice as well, because there's more information there. But basically, we are going to get another gift event where you can feed these items and get prizes, so pretty good stuff. We're also going to get Angel's Crafting event, so there will be another crafting event. Again, more information when we get to the in-game event notice, and then a new battle pass, so pretty much standard fare from there. We have new packages. I'm not going to go through all these. We'll talk more about these when these come up and are actually in the game, but they do have one in here that is going to go ahead and give you some of those first aid kits that's going to be part of that event. There's some other things in here, but really nothing too interesting in my opinion right now. We can talk more about that when they drop officially. Now, speaking of the shop, however, this is something that may be a standout of this update, right? So the secret shop revamp, right? So the secret shop's getting a revamp, as it would entail there. And if you take a look here, there are a lot, and I do mean a lot of really, really cool items here. I'm talking, we get auto clear tickets for Epic Quest. You're going to get normal auto clear tickets, Chapter of Fight auto clear tickets. You're going to be able to get the dispatch speed up tickets for the 10 minutes. You're going to get the dispatch reset coins, and you're also going to get capsules and Epic Quest buffs, as well as hammers and all sorts of really cool stuff. Guys, this part right here is super, super cool. Again, this is going to be part of the secret shop revamp. We'll have to wait and see what all this looks like when it drops, but awesome, awesome prizes are being added in there. Fingers crossed that not all of it is going to cost us rubies, right? So really, really cool stuff. I don't know that there's been any more information on what these things are going to cost at this point, but very, very cool that these are going to be added, and I'm very curious how all that works out. So basically, other things in here, because this is also going to be a bit of a quality of life update as well. We have content improvements here. So one big thing that's going to happen is the expansion of the Tower of Trials. Tower of Trials is going from level 60 up to level 90. So basically levels 61 through 90 are going to be added. So this is really cool because Tower of Trials has not been updated in a very, very, very long time. So this is something that is really cool. We'll have to wait and see just how difficult they make the CP requirements. We'll also hope that they give us some pretty nice items in there. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, I guess more gold's always welcome, but in general, we'll have to wait and see. Now, there are also going to be, and this is something they had already talked about in a previous update that they were intending on doing, but they have gone ahead and condensed some things as far as some of these different game modes. So you guys are going to see that the Element Advent Dungeon and the Hall of Elements are going to go ahead and be changed into a unified dungeon. So if we take a look here, you guys can see that represented in this photo. So basically, we're going to have these two things combined. Very interesting stuff. Probably nothing we're ever going to have much of a problem with or notice, to be honest, but it is a bit of a quality of life thing. It basically just condenses down some of this stuff, makes it a little bit simpler. So not too shabby, but as you guys can see, that's the way it's going to look whenever this stuff goes live. Now, another thing to note, the content of the mystery boxes for the rare evolution materials that you already have will be changed into combined materials, so you aren't just going to have those taken away or replaced by something. They're going to get changed. And then the fighter and the battle card evolution items for crafting will be changed to Evolution Sword, Jade, and Mirror, and the uncommon, rare, and elite grade materials will be changed into 4 elements, which are going to be the Evolution Fragment, the Emblem card, the Crystal card, and the Fire Emblem, or the Fire Element, rather. So basically, there is going to be some changes here. It shouldn't be anything that should make much of a deal to anybody. Everybody should be pretty okay with it. It's basically just a little bit of a quality of life change and a simplification of some of these in-game modes. So, next up here. Speaking of quality of life, they have gone ahead and added a new little exclamation point button right here, as you guys will see on your characters. And this is going to be for new players. Basically, if you take a look at this fancy GIF, it's going to show you where you can obtain all these different things for your fighter. This is to go ahead and guide players that are new. So not anything too crazy, but it will be nice for all the new players out there who might be confused or overwhelmed by the amount of content in the game. So in general, good stuff overall for all of you new players out there. And then we are, of course, going to have some daily and weekly mission improvements based upon the fact that they are changing a lot of this stuff around. So you guys are going to notice that they did make some changes here. The biggest thing that I noticed is they are going to take away a couple of the missions. So you guys are going to notice that these guys are going to go away. And then there's going to be a bit of an increase to the points you can earn for some of the other ones to go ahead and compensate. In general, not a whole lot of crazy stuff here, but in general, good stuff overall, I'd say. Basically lateral moves, if anything. Now, next up here, the change-up kit stuff that we need to talk about real quick is pretty simple. Basically, we already talked about this in a previous video because they had talked about doing this, but essentially what's happening is for characters such as Omega Rugal, the non-BS version of Omega Rugal, as well as the non-BS version of Orochi, and now, of course, with the KOF XII Leona, we are going to see these characters be able to get their change-up kits without having to get the boss syndrome iteration of the character's memories. We can now use their memories, which is really, really nice, meaning that everybody should be able to get a change-up kit for these guys fairly easily. Another thing to keep in mind is if you've already used a change-up kit on either Orochi or Omega Rugal, you are going to get compensated. They are going to refund you your memories, so you don't have to pitch a fit or send in an angry complaint to Netmarble. They have already taken that into account, even though, as I've joked before, I don't think very many people have ever done that to begin with. So pretty good stuff, you guys. I'm not gonna lie, that is a major, major change. We had talked about how that was one of the worst parts of the change-up system, and it has been fixed. And they didn't even take 6 months to do it either. So moving on now, they are going to be removing the Infinite Battle Exchange Shop. This is long overdue. It's just been sitting there for a long time for most people. Most people used their coins on AP pots a long, long time ago. Make sure you guys use, if you have any of these left, you use them up because it will be going away. But I have a hard time believing most people haven't already done that. Other things in here. If we take a look, you guys are also going to notice, we've already talked about this. I'm not going to go back through this because we've got so much to talk about in this video that we don't need to reiterate things that we've already talked about. But if you guys did not see that video that I did previously, basically a bunch of these characters that have been unreleased, or at least have not been around for a while, or haven't been available for people in a long time, they are going to be adding these characters to things such as the Unified banner. In the case of False Resurrection Chris, he's going to be part of Epic Quest, so on and so forth. Again, I'll have a link in the description, but we've already talked about this stuff and gone over this. This is pretty much what they've already told us, so we don't need to go back into it. As far as some of these other things, as far as the items and things like that correspond with them, these are also things we've talked about. So again, we're not going to go back into it and go over it again. But in general, you guys, that is kind of the skeleton of what we've got as far as the update. Again, a ton of information. However, we do have more information on the events, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the in-game event notice. So let's take a look at this. Now, this again is going to be the tower, right? And this is where they go ahead and confirm, like I'd already told you previously, that we can use the KOF 15 Angel, the BS Leona Hydern, and the KOF 12 Leona Hydern in this tower. So again, the big addition here is going to be the KOF 12 Leona. Awesome addition, especially for people out there on a budget. This is a really nice add, and I'm very curious to see just how she performs in this tower and what the tower rewards are. Again, we can pretty much assume the Operation Kitty stones are going to be involved, but again, we don't know much beyond that. I would assume it'll probably be very much the same as the previous update, if history is anything that we can consider when it comes to this stuff, because we know Netmarble loves to just redo the same types of events over and over and over again. Now, the Rush Dungeon, we don't need to go into. We already talked about that amazing card art for that card set. They aren't going to give us much of any other information in here. Largely, Rush Dungeons have always remained pretty much the same, so not much has changed. It's going to be another Rush Dungeon. We'll talk about it when it goes live. Login streak bonus, we've already talked about. Not much to talk about there because it's largely the same as what we always get for a login bonus with these updates. Biggest thing is always going to be the hammers, and then of course your capsules and so on. But in general, we can move on from that. Now, the relay roulette for Ramon. So there's something that we need to talk about here because this actually feeds into something else. So if we take a look at this, there's going to be several different items here. You're going to notice that you can use the energy drinks, and then you can also use the sports towel. So basically, these things are going to be things that you're going to be able to use on the gift event, which we'll also be talking about. But when it comes to the roulette, we all know how roulettes work. You got some ads, you get some tickets every day. You'll have some events that we'll talk about that you can get these roulette tickets from to use. But in general, the big get here is going to be those affinity items to go ahead and feed to that event for Angels Wrestling Match gift event, which they will bring up and talk about momentarily. But in general, it's another roulette event, largely the same as what we've seen in the past with some of these prior ones. Now, the codex, pretty much the same as what we've seen before. However, there is going to be something that is worth noting here. Basically, when it comes to this is going to have largely the same items in here. You're going to have Angel here. So in general, this is not anything that's going to be too dissimilar from what we've had previously. And in general, if you've seen a codex before, you know what you're getting into. Basically, obtain the fighter, and for every dupe you obtain, you can go ahead and awaken the fighter, and then you get the corresponding reward based on the awakening level of the fighter. And this time around, it's going to be for EX Angel. So, moving on now. We're going to talk about the wrestling match gift event. So this here is where you're going to use those relay roulette items, the energy drink and the sports towel, as well as the first aid kit, which you'll get from the growth support shop. These are basically going to be things that you're going to feed to this event, and then you'll be able to get the corresponding prizes based on the level that you get the bar to. You guys have seen these before. We've had these quite recently, so shouldn't be anything that should surprise anybody, or shouldn't be anything that should be too complicated at that. So the crafting event, we are getting another Angels crafting event. So we have been getting a lot of crafting events lately. This one here is going to, as you guys can see, it's hard to see. You can kind of see the silhouette of a little black cat there. So this is going to be those kitty stones, basically the moon and the star stone here. You're also going to see this guy here, which again should elicit memories of the event I believe we still have currently running. So in general, this is just going to be another version of that same event. We don't know necessarily all the different items on here quite yet, but in general, these stones, it'll be interesting to see who they can be applied to and how good they are, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll have the same effects as those 3 Sacred Treasure stones. We do not know, but in general, that is what we got as far as that's concerned. So pretty much when it comes to that, not a whole lot else to talk about with it. It should be something that everybody should be pretty accustomed to. Again, a lot of these events usually end up just being reskinned, retooled versions of what we've already had in a previous update. And in this case, this is all stuff that we've pretty much seen within the past couple of months. So we have a new battle pass. This time around, the battle pass is quite interesting to me. And the reason why it's interesting to me is you're actually going to see the KOF XII Leona Change-Up kit here, and this is actually going to be on the cheap pass, the Dolphin Pass, the Minnow Pass, whatever you want to call it. That's actually really interesting in my opinion. You're also going to get 2 multis respectively for the new EX Fighter Summon banner, as well as the EX Card Summon banner. So in general, for $5, if it hasn't changed in price, we'll see. But for $5, if it remains the same, a really nice value, especially getting that change-up kit. Really, really good stuff. We'll have to wait and see just what it looks like when it drops. And then, of course, we have the Reward 2 Battle Pass, which is going to be the Whale Pass. It's normally $50. This one, to me, looks largely the same as what we've seen in the past. So this thing doesn't look like it's really changed much. But in general, we usually talk about these in a separate video, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. So we can go ahead and move on. So next up, as far as anything else here, they reiterate Chapter of Fight is coming back. We also have some new Relay Roulette events. These event missions are basically going to be the way that you can get those aforementioned Ramon's Roulette event tickets. You'll get 5 respectively for the following missions: clearing the story stage 3 times, clearing the power-up dungeon 3 times, and leveling up battle cards 3 times. So basically 15 free tickets for the roulette each and every single day, just for doing very simple missions. Now, other things we have here, we have the Dungeon Revamp Celebration event missions. Basically, for clearing Hall of Elements X amount of times, you're going to be able to pick up the Element Soul selection boxes. This is typically going to be mostly interesting for all of you newbies out there or low-level players, because for the most part, these are things that eventually you outgrow and you don't even worry about too much because you get so many of them, or get stockpiled with so many of them at a certain point once you become kind of in that veteran category. But they're always welcome, and you always love to see any free stuff you can possibly get. So in general, all of us should be happy. It's just more free stuff for doing stuff we're already doing every day anyway. And beyond that, you guys, that's what we got. That's the update. So a lot of stuff. I need to breathe. Oh my God. So in general, the big thing here is of course going to be, what are these cards going to do? What's Angel going to look like as far as her kit? There is a trailer for this character I will do in a separate video. However, if you guys did not see my community posts earlier this morning, this is the latest I've ever recorded a video, because to be honest with you guys, we had a huge storm overnight. I woke up today, I did not have any power, and it's kind of hard to record a video without power. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this video edited and out to you guys as soon as humanly possible, because I feel terrible taking so long to get it out. But again, there's nothing I could do. So in general, there you have it, and there you are. Better late than never, as they say, right? So beyond that, you guys, make sure on Sunday you get your dailies done as early as possible, so that way you do not have to worry about this stuff, because again, this is a maintenance that will be taking place at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday. Adjust accordingly for your time zone. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think of the update. I will go ahead and get the reaction video to her trailer recorded for all you guys, and maybe get it out to you tomorrow at this point. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully everything ends up working out as far as the power, because we're expecting another storm tonight, so fingers crossed. Good Lord, I'm tired of rain. But anyway, you guys, that's going to do it for me. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think of the update. Like, share, and subscribe on your way out, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.
Continue.